This morning it was a very early session. Over the next at least couple days, I'm going to be writing just very early just because I have to take care of some things. Um, so went in. I was able to get at least a little bit of prose done. Um, didn't amount to much though, to be honest. About half a page is all I was able to kind of rework. Which, to be frank, I was actually surprised I was even able to get half a page done. So I suppose in some ways I'm very, very happy. Um, I'm not sure if it was the wreck a week ago or maybe just I don't know, maybe just something about the time of the year, what have you. But I'm a bit more reflective as of late. I've become a bit more, I suppose, introspective in that I'm looking more at kind of where I've come from, how far I've kind of come along this writing path so far, and I don't know what it is, but today, man, I am filled with a very, very humble sense of, I suppose, gratitude. In that, I'm looking at my work now. I'm looking at what I'm writing, what I'm revising, the level that I am at right now with my prose, and man, I'm at the place now where I wished I could one day be. It's powerful. It's very, very powerful to even say that out loud now. To be able to actually say out loud, I'm at the place where I wanted to eventually be. Obviously, not in terms of any kind of success in the writing field, but just in terms of skill, of being able to get my own craft to the point where I can say what I am trying to envision in my head on the page and get that across to people. As writers, that's what we want, right? And especially in the very beginning, when writing is such a struggle, all we want is we want that thing that's in our head to be conveyed to the person across from us. That's all we want. And when we write, we so often are disheartened because our prose never matches what we envisioned. Our prose, it ends up in the beginning, it's maybe, you get to like 50% probably of what you wanted, right? In your head you wanted this thing and it's like halfway there. It's got the major points, but none of the intricacies, none of the subtleties, none of the implications, or the subtext that you wanted ever really comes across in the page. None of the nuance of your characters ever comes across. And it's such a struggle in the beginning to accept that it's going to take a long time. And I so often in the beginning wanted to be there, wanted to be in a place where I could just say what was in my head and get it across to somebody. And as I look at my work now, I look at this piece that I'm working on right now, I'm there. um, I'm not by any means done growing as a writer, not anywhere near the true masterful level of prose that I hope to one day get to. By no means am I there yet. But man, I can say what is in my head and I can paint the picture that I've envisioned with my words. And that is a very powerful thing. And to be satisfied, to get to the point where you're actually satisfied with your prose is very, very powerful. I'm no longer in the position where I am embarrassed by what I'm completing. I'm no longer um, ashamed of what I'm trying to put out there. This point now, I could submit work and have it be okay, and have someone look at it and and not be worried about, oh man, this really sucks. I'm really ashamed. I can't believe it. It's not work that I would ever look back on and think it was terrible, right? I'm not at that place anymore, which is, it's powerful. It's powerful. Um, I recently actually ended up going back through my old work yesterday. Yesterday, one of my other writing, basically one of my other writing mentees, someone I'm coaching, I decided to go through some of my old work with them to show them, hey, this is where I came from. they were a bit disheartened, and I was trying to give them a little bit of motivation. So I pulled out my old hard drive, where I keep a lot of my old stories, and I showed them. Like, this is work from like 2008, 2009. Um, and I was reading it, and I had forgotten these stories. I had not looked at these stories in years and years and years and years. Um, at least 5 years, at least, probably more than that. But it's been forever. And I looked at the stories and I showed it to them, and I was reading it aloud. I couldn't even get halfway down the first page before, just in an utter embarrassment, had to like say like, okay, we can stop here. Let's let's focus on some other things I wrote before, because it was that bad. And if you had told me back then, 15 years ago, hey, listen, it's going to take a while, but one day you're going to be able to write, and your work's not going to be cliche anymore. Your work, the things you write, your dialogue is going to have power to it. The things you're going to write are going to feel powerful. They're going to have resonance. I would have been, I think, very humbled by the thought of how long it would take, and also very inspired to know that there is something good on the other side of it. Even in these videos, I often don't self reflect probably to this level, especially not on my own stuff. I offer a lot of small advice here and there. I give updates on the process. I lament my frustrations with certain aspects of trying to get published and all that stuff. But I don't. I really get a chance to sort of stop and smell the proverbial roses, as it were. I very rarely get a chance to look back and see where I've come from, and to do that and to see where I'm at now, it's powerful. It's humbling, and I think for the first time in a very long time, I feel humbled. I genuinely am feel humbled, and I feel almost content. And it's not something that you'll ever hear a writer say. Writers are never content. A writer is never happy with anything. No artist is, I imagine, but um, the cliche of the tortured artist is a very real thing. Even if you aren't someone who slaves over their work and who is anguished over it, the amount of times that you'll ever be content in this process is very little, and I feel it. And it's as close to any kind of it's as close to any sort of what I would call like spiritual sensation that I've gotten in this process. Um, a lot within the self help, a lot within just this sort of personal development side of things. You hear that term a lot. You hear the sort of element of like having your spiritual life in check, having this element of this element of the deeper part of you, I guess, in check there. Having that aspect of your life being in tune with it. And yeah, it's something that's never really resonated with me before. But seeing this, I get that feeling. I get what I think people talk about with that sort of humble content. Sort of, I can go through my day and sort of withstands the up and downs of it with this sort of emotion. And it's happy. It's a very happy feeling to feel. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long this content will last. Probably just a day or two. Then I'll get back to my normal anguish and all that stuff, and my normal drive and all that stuff to trying to one up myself and to continue to push forward here. But for the moment, I'm going to take this in. I'm going to take in this sort of quiet reflection and just be content with how far I've come. Um, maybe I'll do this a little bit more. Maybe I'll feel this feeling again a bit more often. I can imagine the writing process would go much more smoothly if I did.